Tuesday afternoon seminar. I've got 56, 57. Oh my goodness, the number of people is going up by the second. 58. This is very nice. So we've attracted a lot of people. I only have one announcement, and that was Anthony Bavacqua successfully defended his dissertation, PhD dissertation, on Friday. He has to make a few modifications, but that's very normal. So congratulations to him. That's the only announcement I've got to make right now, except, oh, one other one, and that is look for an email that I sent earlier today regarding limited funds to support PhD student summer research. And again, the emphasis is on the limited, but you should have all received an email from me about that. So if you think you need help in the summer, there is a possibility of some funding support for you. And having said that, I will switch off my video and hand off to who's introducing our speaker, to Dr. Lorenzo Troiber. Thank you.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I'll make just a reminder for everyone that has joined the call. We have a very nice group of people today, 68 at the moment. So just a quick reminder that if you don't mind muting yourself and on Zoom and making sure that your camera is not on. So that's all. And also those that are taking the colloquium, most of you have done, but just in case you haven't, send me a private message via Zoom so for your attendance. And Pankaj, would you like to introduce Marisa?
Yes, sure. So Marisa, welcome, and thank you for giving the virtual seminar series. So Marisa Slaten is the Director of Regulatory Strategy Services at Pepco Holdings, an Exelon company. She came for the first CSAC summit a couple of years ago. Then we have been together at Lead, New Jersey. So that's how I know her. In her role, she has been working at Pepco for some time, and she manages regulatory and compliance filing, testifies as a witness, and meets with government officials and industry leaders. Prior to joining this, she was at the Division of Clean Energy at New Jersey Board of Public Utilities and practiced as an attorney. She has a background in economics, and then she moved on to law. So we are glad to welcome Marisa. Marisa, the floor is yours. We look forward to listening to your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Lau, and thank you everyone for having me here today. I'm happy to be back at Montclair State speaking with your students and others who are listening in today. I am originally from New Jersey, so I'm a Jersey girl, grew up right in the town over in Glen Ridge, and so I'm very fond of Montclair, and it's good to be talking with you all today. My background, and I thought it would be helpful before getting into some of the substantive slides today, since I'm talking with a university audience, is to talk a bit first about my career path. And Dr. Lau already sort of gave you the high level. I am a graduate of Northwestern University out in Chicago, where I majored in economics. From there, I went to Rutgers Law School and graduated there, moving on to clerk for the New Jersey Supreme Court, as well as work in a private law firm in North Jersey. I was doing commercial litigation at that time, and you know how careers sometimes take different paths. I left the private sector for about a 10-year stint in the state attorney general's office, doing various assignments, working from public policy and crime prevention through to litigation of government healthcare fraud, civil rights. And one day I volunteered for a public utilities assignment. And that assignment had me working directly with the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities as my client, supporting their clean energy office. And that's how I made my transition from being a general practitioner, primarily on the civil side, to working directly in the energy industry. After working at the Attorney General's office for several years, supporting the Board of Public Utilities, I then transitioned over into the agency as Assistant Director of the Office of Clean Energy and subsequently promoted to the Director of that office. I joined Pepco Holdings about 2.5 years ago as the Director of their Regulatory Strategy and Services group, overseeing all of their regulatory affairs and compliance items for both New Jersey and Delaware. So that's a little bit about my background. I always find that it's helpful to to sort of talk about that first, especially where you know that there are a lot of folks out there who might be interested in, well, how does she get into the energy space, and what do different career paths look like? So I think the pivotal moment for me was simply volunteering for an assignment that was outside of my expertise, outside of my comfort zone, and it happened to be something that I really enjoyed. And one assignment turned into another, turned into a full-scale career in the energy space. So my topic for today is creating connected communities and a clean energy future. Why this topic? This topic I chose because as part of the Exelon family of companies, we are committed to empowering a cleaner and brighter future for our customers and communities. We do this by first recognizing that climate change is real, and then making sure that we're ready to do our part as a critical partner in helping states in which we operate to advance a clean energy future and meet ambitious climate change goals. We deliver energy and services to over 10 million customers across 6 states. And you'll see at the bottom of the slide there, I have listed all of our affiliate companies that represent the Exelon utilities. So in New Jersey, obviously, it's Atlantic City Electric. In Pennsylvania, it's PECO. Delaware, we have Delmarva Power and Light. Maryland has Baltimore Gas and Electric. In DC is where PECO operates, and out in Illinois, ComEd. And so we need to provide, as a group of companies, we need to provide smart energy solutions to enable our customers to better understand and manage their individual energy needs. And the companies, as public utilities, will be the platform through which customers seamlessly connect to energy networks, devices, and information. So as you'll see further in today's discussion, these concepts of clean energy, innovative technology, and seamless access drive a lot of the thinking about what it means to be a connected community. Before I get into the more details around connected communities and a clean energy future, I want to give you a bit more background about the company that I work for, Pepco Holdings. Pepco Holdings is the parent company of Atlantic City Electric, Delmarva Power, and Pepco. For Atlantic City Electric, it represents, and you have a map there, which I really like because it shows you how big our territory really is, the 8 southernmost counties in New Jersey: Atlantic County, Ocean, Cape May, Cumberland, Salem, Burlington, Gloucester, and parts of Camden. That includes over 125 municipalities and 2,800 square miles of New Jersey's most southernmost parts, including the Pinelands and the shore communities. So a pretty large service territory. Across all of our companies, we have over 2 million customers served. Our parent company, Exelon, is even more diverse. It is the nation's leading competitive energy provider with approximately 34,000 employees nationwide. And it includes not just the utilities, but also generation and competitive energy supply services. So quick slide again on the background for Atlantic City Electric, and you'll see some of our metrics there about our service area, customers, and towns served. So here's the heart of it all for today: connected communities. In our view, connected communities and the future of energy is not just isolated pockets of new and intriguing technologies. Rather, the future of energy is an interconnected web that allows technologies to come on and offline, be shared, and create value to customers. Value being monetary, sustainability, equity, and provide for more innovation than they could achieve in isolation. So what you see might be a little bit busy for a slide, but it shows a variety of ways of how people and businesses and communities interact with the energy grid. So starting in the top left corner, you'll see rooftop, you'll see advanced meters, which are also smart meters, helping to improve reliability and enable innovative programs for customers. You'll also, right below that, you see private solar continues to grow at businesses and homes. That's rooftop solar. And then below that, energy efficiency programs, which you can operate inside of your home, on campus, and in businesses as well. Going to the top middle, Electric buses, whether it's street buses or school buses, create clean transportation options for all of our customers. Offshore wind and other renewable energy resources are delivered through our grid and require upgraded infrastructure. Community solar also offers new options for customers, especially those who may not have the ability to put solar on their own rooftop because maybe their home doesn't have the space on their roof. It's not facing in the right direction for the sun to capture as much light. Perhaps they are living in an apartment building and don't have property that they can actually install solar on. So rooftop solar expands the accessibility of solar to those who might not be able to put it on their own homes. And then, public charging, whether it's your car and you are at a grocery store, you're at work, you're on campus, increased amounts of electric vehicles on our roadways, they need to also have chargers which are connected to our grid. And last but not least, battery storage makes communities more resilient against extreme weather events. So all of these things happen at the same time. It's a lot of activity that's going on every single minute of the day of different people with different needs and different interests, all connecting to the grid. They're coming on and offline at varying intervals. And so we need to make sure that our infrastructure is designed in a way that can support all of this varied activity. And so this is sort of what we think of in a way when we're thinking of building a connected community. So the next slide talks about how customers and policies shape the policy, customers and lawmakers rather shape the policy landscape. So the utility of today and the utility of the future are not what your grandparents were used to. Customer expectations, along with state and regional policies, are shaping the clean energy landscape. Customers want greater control and greater choice and convenience regarding energy usage. You could think of rooftop solar, where many years ago, you weren't able to have solar on your roof, so your only option was to purchase electricity through your public utility. Smart thermostats are another example of that. Many people might have a thermostat where they can access it on their phone and adjust temperature and so forth when they're not home. Equitable access and affordability are also important to customers. And there's a rapid advancement of new technologies and renewables constantly occurring throughout our entire economic system. States and major cities are responding to this change, and they're also responding to the environmental needs in order to adopt low carbon strategies and other aggressive clean energy strategies. So all of these things together require a collaborative process with the utilities, state and policymakers, community partners, and everyone else that might have a voice and touch our system. And so new technologies will most certainly impact how utilities do business and what customers expect. A modern grid is the foundation for a clean energy future, and it serves as a common platform that reliably interconnects customers to more energy choices and services. I've already talked through the slide that had the city landscape about smart cities, smart meters, energy efficiency, electric vehicles, distributed solar, energy storage, microgrids, and an offshore wind. So all of these things are creating pressure on policymakers. They're creating pressure on utilities, such that we have to think about how we're doing business. We have to think about how we're interacting with customers. We have to think about how we're interacting with our regulators in order to make sure that we are meeting the expectations of everyone involved, but also that we are continuing to deliver electricity to our stakeholders and customers in a way that is consistent with what they've expected all along, that's safe and also reliable. And so to do this, it's helpful to keep in mind that there are interdependent economic and policy interests. The utility business model, for example, we deliver energy to your home, to your business. It is historically been a volumetric business where you can actually look at your utility bill and see how much you use and see the rate that you're charged, and that's essentially what you're being paid. You're paying. But as more options are coming into the marketplace, we're seeing increased competitive services. So there are now other companies that can deliver that can provide your electricity supply. So you don't have to continuously buy it from the utility company. You can generate your own electricity by having rooftop solar. You can shore up your home against storms and outages by having a generator on your property, or having some kind of battery storage hooked up. So the way that folks are interacting with the utility is very different. Environmental policies are also a huge point, because environmental policies will reduce the amount that customers need to obtain from the utility. They're focused on emissions reductions and increasing renewables, and increasing or reducing consumption by increasing the amount of energy efficiency programs that are being offered, and also increasing the number of electric vehicles and charger infrastructure opportunities that are being deployed across the region. Economic development. Economic development includes job creation, local and regional investment, and market pricing. So these are the things which are integral to any kind of economic or market dynamic. There are various markets that place value on energy products, where people who operate in those spaces are able to make trades, and that impacts local investment. And customer expectations. And you'll hear, as we talk today, that customer expectations are a huge part of our business. Without our customers, maybe I'll say it differently, our customers are the most important people to us, because we're serving them, and we need to make sure that our products are affordable, that we're providing flexible options, that we are meeting their expectations in terms of how we are interacting with the community. So are we being a responsible corporate citizen? Are we doing our part to address climate change? So as you see, all of these things operate together, and it's not just one or another, but it's a whole system of interdependent interests here, both on the business side and a policy side, as well as an environmental side. So this slide shows that as we're thinking about the interdependent nature of a clean energy economy and the various policy positions that might be put forward by a state and how utilities are responding to that, it's important to also take a step back to a higher level and think about, well, what are we doing in this region, in the New York, New Jersey, Maryland, District of Columbia, in sort of this Northeast region. And I have just a couple of states listed here to give you a sense. And I chose these states because they are really out front. They are representative of the states that are really being aggressive with their clean energy policies. New York has a 100% clean energy target by 2040. New Jersey has a 100% clean energy target by 2050. Maryland has 50% by 2030, and DC has 100% by 2032. So this means, in essence, that they want to see, each of those states wants to see that either 100% of energy being used is derived from a clean energy source, or that it is being, or that if you're still using a traditional source, that there's clean energy generation occurring that is enough to offset that. Because we know, solar, for example, the sun's not always shining. And so if your solar on your roof is not turned on, so to speak, to generate energy, or it's cloudy and so you're not getting energy from that, you'll still need a traditional source of electricity in order to meet the needs of your household. And so, looking at these targets, each state, including DC, is creating their own vision for what it looks like to get from where we are today in 2020 to where we want to be in the future, whether it's 2030, 40, or 50. And you'll see, as we kind of look into this chart a little bit more, electric vehicles, each state has a target for that, 850,000 for New York by 2025, 330,000 for New Jersey, 300,000 100,000 for Maryland, and within the next 25 years, 100% for light duty vehicles in DC. So these are sort of showing you, if you will, the direction that states and really major commercial markets are headed in this area. Energy efficiency is another way that states are looking to achieve their clean energy goals, which means that they want people to use less energy. And so there are a number of programs that are available across the region, no matter where you live. Most states have them, that you can find different incentives or rebates or other programs to help you reduce your energy consumption, whether it's changing a light bulb, might be the easiest thing if you're thinking of like LED lights. Weatherizing your home is something else that people sometimes do in order to make sure you're not losing as much of your heat. So different things in order to reduce energy consumption. Energy storage is big as well, for the very reason that renewable sources are intermittent. And so in order to sort of maximize that benefit, it helps to have a place to store it, such that when the sun is not shining, you can still draw from that battery. Or if it's an offshore wind type of investment, you can still use the energy that was produced even when that renewable source is not necessarily flowing. Community solar is another opportunity which expands accessibility of solar to residential customers. New Jersey currently is in its first year of a 3-year pilot program where they have set annual targets of around 75 megawatts in order to deploy community solar. And of course, I mentioned offshore wind, where New Jersey is clearly trying to be a national leader, and in fact is, frankly, a national leader in this space by setting such an aggressive target of 7.5 gigawatts over the next several years. So if I want to shift a little bit from talking about the region and the big picture of what connected communities means and what does it look like, I want to shift now and talk about New Jersey. And what does the New Jersey Energy Master Plan say about connected communities? And I'll also be weaving in through this section other legislative enactments that's happened over the past several years that are helping to shape the policy landscape in New Jersey. So what is the Energy Master Plan, first of all? The Energy Master Plan, the 2019 Energy Master Plan, was released in January of this year. It is a 10-year forward-looking energy policy statement for New Jersey. Essentially, it is the energy vision of New Jersey that's put out by the administration. It was prepared by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities in collaboration with several other state agencies. Because again, the Energy Master Plan is not just about what do the public utilities do, but it looks at electric vehicles, and it looks at offshore wind, and it looks at what is the total composite of the energy makeup in New Jersey, and how can we go from where we are today to where the administration wants to be by 2050, which is 100% clean energy. So the Energy Master Plan includes 7 strategies to achieve that. And it also includes modeling for an integrated energy plan. It models different scenarios, sort of like a least cost path to meet those 100% clean energy goals. So the 7 strategies in the Energy Master Plan. First strategy, number 1, is to reduce energy consumption and emissions from the transportation sector. So by that, we're looking at electrifying the transportation sector, decreasing vehicle miles traveled, and reducing port and airport emissions. Strategy number 2 is accelerating deployment of renewable energy and distributed energy resources. Again, 100% clean power by 2050. It includes development of 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind power by 2035. And it also maximizes local solar development, like on-site or community solar, and includes battery storage. Strategy number 3 is to maximize energy efficiency and conservation and reduce peak demand. So overall, increasing New Jersey's overall energy efficiency, and managing and reducing peak demand, and strengthening energy and building codes and applying standards. Strategy 4 is reducing energy consumption and emissions from the building sector. So starting to transition new construction to be net zero carbon, and start the transition for existing oil and propane fueled businesses to become electrified. Strategy 5 is modernizing the grid and utility infrastructure. So that includes integrated distribution plan and non-wires alternatives. It includes accelerating deployment of advanced metering infrastructure, and it also includes new designs for rate making. Number 6 is support for community energy planning and support for LMI and environmental justice communities. So supporting local clean power generation in LMI communities and environmental justice communities. It includes prioritizing clean transportation in those areas by building extensive charging infrastructure and attracting car sharing companies to expand their programs. And it also includes eliminating barriers that might inhibit or prohibit folks from participating in the clean energy economy. And last but not least, it expands clean energy innovation by providing or thinking towards growing a world-class research, development, and workforce training programs, and bringing more capital investment into New Jersey so that it can be a national leader in this space. So what does this mean in real life terms for 2020 and beyond? It means a couple of things. For clean energy innovation, it means that there's a huge focus on AMI, advanced metering infrastructure. It means that there's a huge focus on building out electric vehicles. And it also means that there's a big push for expanding access to energy efficiency opportunities. Other key initiatives that you're going to see this year and going further is increased deployment of community and rooftop solar. You'll also see a lot of activity and research and study around battery storage and discussion on how to expand the offshore wind industry in New Jersey. And the backbone for all of this, which is our distribution system. So you'll see activity building and gaining momentum around distribution system planning so that there's greater transparency in what the utilities do. Such that when investors want to know, well, where can I place this new battery storage project, or where can I do utility scale solar, they'd have greater insight into that by virtue of us working with the Board of Public Utilities to create access to our distribution system planning methods. And also the state is looking at the integrated energy plan, which is primarily cost modeling, which would show the least cost path to get from where we are today to 100% clean energy goals. So a lot of activity that you're going to see from not just my company and the other utilities, but activity that you're going to see in the entire space. That's going to be driven from the state agencies like the Board of Public Utilities and also the Department of Environmental Protection. You'll see funding opportunities coming out from the Economic Development Authority and perhaps others all around these different key strategies in the Energy Master Plan in order to support the state's goals. So the remainder of my time is going to focus on AMI and also on electric vehicles. And I chose these two topics because, one, they're in the Energy Master Plan, but also because of what the Energy Master Plan talks about. And it talks about, for advanced metering infrastructure at the very least, it talks about accelerating deployment of this. And so let's jump straight into that. Starting with the basics. What is advanced metering infrastructure? What is AMI? AMI consists of smart meters and communication infrastructure that together enable two-way real-time communication between a customer's smart meter and the utility. AMI allows the utility to measure collect, remotely access, and analyze more granular customer outage and energy data. And AMI is the foundation for grid modernization and connected communities. The diagram that you see on the right just shows how it all plays out. You have a home with electric vehicle plugged in and solar on the rooftop and an AMI meter. And that AMI meter will allow two-way communication such that the utility can obtain data from the meter, as well as the customer continues to have all of its interests, the solar and the vehicle and folks living in the home, it's still able to receive energy from the utility. So smart meters are a key component of the AMI system. There's broad scale deployment of AMI across the country. I'd say about 48 states or maybe even 50 states have some level of AMI, including New Jersey. New Jersey has, in the most northern region, close to New York, about 70,000, and this is in the territory of another utility, about 70,000 or so AMI meters. It was rolled out as part of a pilot program a couple of years ago that the BPU authorized. And so what I'll talk about in the next couple of slides is, what is the state doing in order to expand the deployment of AMI across the state. But first, I think it's important to really understand the benefits of AMI and how AMI fits in with helping the state achieve its advanced clean energy goals. So AMI supports achievement of 100% clean energy by 2050 because it enables the effective integration and management of connected renewable energy sources across the network. It supports a 2% reduction in electricity usage, and 2% is important because 2% is tied to 2018 clean energy legislation that was passed by the state, which now requires that the electric utilities in New Jersey, such as Atlantic City Electric, are required to reduce energy consumption by 2%. And we're going to be doing this by rolling out a variety of energy efficiency programs and having those approved through the Board of Public Utilities. So AMI is going to help to support that. Some of those programs may include conservation voltage reduction, which is the utility can lower voltages on feeders with a permissible range to reduce system losses and overall customer electricity use. It also includes energy efficiency programs, which allows customers to view how and where they use electricity, enabling them to adjust their usage and make better informed energy efficiency investments. And it supports the expansion of community solar energy storage and electric vehicle infrastructure, because utilities would be able to pinpoint and manage the load of customers to better accommodate these emerging green technologies. So it really is the foundation of connected communities. And what you'll see here is just a high-level grid of some of the major benefits of AMI. It's storm response, right? So storm response means that instead of when your power goes out and truck having to roll by your house in order to see if the lights are on, or someone actually calling you to say, hey, do you have power? We'll be able to ping a meter and determine whether there's power out or not. And our ability to ping your meter also means that we're able to restore a power faster because we're not having to roll the truck past your house. And so there's greater access of information that would trigger that kind of benefit. It also allows for improved customer communication and response time and optimization of reliability planning and investments. On the clean energy side, with particular reference to the Clean Energy Act, I've talked a lot about that already, but again, it helps to reduce energy consumption and diversified sources. It also helps with the effective integration of increasing amounts of distributed energy resource, DER, distributed energy resource, and efficiency improvements in wholesale energy and capacity markets. And last but not least, and really we should start here which is grid modernization, the integrated planning and integration of EVs, more sophisticated tariff structure, and how our rates are built, and also allows for more innovative products and services to be stacked on to our grid, such as smart homes and demand side management, and again, energy efficiency. So what does the EMP say about AMI? The EMP is very strong on AMI. AMI is a foundational component of a modernized electric distribution grid. The potential benefits are wide-ranging, including accelerated service, restoration during outages, better environmental outcomes, lower operation and maintenance costs, etc. And so the energy master plan directs that the utilities should accelerate planning for the installation of the AMI backbone as soon as possible. And so the Board of Public Utilities has directed that the utilities such as Atlantic City Electric and the others in the state file AMI proposals no later than this summer. And so this is something that we are very excited about. It's something that we have wanted to do for a long time, and we think that both the state and the interests of customers and the interests of the utilities are very much aligned on this point. And so we're looking forward to filing our proposal with the BPU in the next coming months. On the topic of electric vehicles, the transportation sector is really growing, and the PHI, my parent company, Pepco Holdings Utilities, as I mentioned at the top of today's discussion, serve customers in DC, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. And so the states in this region have these really aggressive EV targets. New Jersey wants 330,000 EVs on the road by 2025, that's in 5 years. Maryland, 300,000 EVs by 2025 as well. To give you a sense of where we are today, in New Jersey, there are approximately 30,000 EVs on the road. And so, barely a tenth of what the goal actually is. Considerations of EV charging, it means more energy, right? So a car, if you're gonna plug in a car, and charge at home, you can expect that it's gonna increase your electricity consumption by at least a third. There are some estimates that say, as much as 50%, but you're going to see increased usage at your home if you're charging at home. And so, one way to incentivize growth of EV chargers is to have chargers at different points throughout, just like you have gas stations, just different places that you are able to charge. And this also helps the utility so that we don't see spikes in usage, which can put stress on the grid. On the right side, where you have this chart here showing sales projections going out through 2025, it's year-over-year estimated sales projections. Right now, electric vehicles represent about 2.1% of car sales across the country. And there's just over a million, about 1.2 million electric vehicle cars on the road. And so you'll see that there's broad speculation around, well, in the next 5 years, some folks are, on the high end, you'll see, 3.1 million cars. On the low end, you'll see growth of about 1 million cars. And so this is all dependent upon the policies of the state in each of the states across the country. What are they doing to incentivize growth in the market around EVs? New Jersey specifically, New Jersey ranked second among states in the Northeast for electric vehicle sales in 2018, but only about 1.5% of new vehicles sold in New Jersey are electric, compared to the 2.1% nationwide that I just mentioned. So what is New Jersey doing in order to ramp up its electric vehicle deployment? New Jersey is taking a very aggressive action to position itself to meet the EV targets. First of all, in April of 2018, Governor Murphy added New Jersey as a signatory to the state zero emission vehicle program, which sets the targets for 330,000 plug-in EVs. Secondly, in June of last year, June 2019, the administration announced the Partnership to Plug In, which is a statewide partnership to support the growth of EVs, including through the use of vehicle rebates. And in January of this year, the state passed new legislation that codifies very specific targets. So what you see on this slide is a summary of that legislation. It is statewide goals. So 330,000 cars by 2025, 2 million within the next 15 years, and 85% of the, by 2040. State-owned and 85% of vehicles sold or leased should be by EVs by 2040. For state-owned the legislature has set specific targets there, setting 25% of state-owned non-emergency vehicles should be plug-in by 2025 and 100% within 15 years. 10% of NJ Transit buses should also be zero emissions within the next several years, going out to 100% within the next 12 years. On the issue of increasing publicly accessible charging, the legislature, the legislation walks through specific targets on that as well, focusing both on the number of chargers, the number and type of chargers. So fast chargers in 100 locations and 75 among major corridors and 100 within certain communities. And those are minimum base levels, not ceilings. And then also targeting certain percentages for other places like multifamily residential properties, as well as franchised like hotels. So very comprehensive. What you're looking at, what you're seeing taking place in New Jersey is that you're seeing an expansion of electric transportation. This is a major goal for the state, and they're doing all of these things, the ZEV program, the Partnership to Plug In, the legislation, in a manner and for the purpose to achieve its emissions reductions goals by 2050. And they're being quite deliberate about it. So what does the Energy Master Plan say about EVs? It says that EVs are a cost-effective option that will result in billions of dollars in savings while creating jobs and reducing illnesses resulting from air pollution. EVs promote alternate fuel technologies and phase out gasoline and diesel fuels. And importantly, New Jersey must make the state range safe. By range safe, we mean that folks who have cars aren't afraid that they're going to run out of power before finding a new charging, a new place to charge. So they want to make the state range safe by increasing electric vehicle charging infrastructure throughout the entire state. Also, they want to decrease miles traveled. This helps to target emissions goals by expanding mass transit and accelerating implementation of the Transit Village program. Reduce port and airport emissions by electrifying diesel fleets, increased clean transportation options in low and moderate income communities and in environmental justice communities. And also, in order to achieve these goals, it's not like a one size fits all. It's not one entity has to do it, the state, some private investor, but it's everyone working together. So collaborating with public utilities, educational institutions, property owners, businesses, and investors to build out the EV infrastructure. And what does this mean for Atlantic City Electric? How is my company in New Jersey responding to the call for more EV infrastructure? We're doing a couple of things. In December of last year, so December 2019, we filed a proposal with the BPU that is currently pending, which increases public chargers. So we've proposed support for the installation of 245 public EV chargers owned by the utility, and a number of public EV charging stations which would be owned by third parties. We're also proposing 50% rebates for charging equipment across all different customer types, for residential homeowners, for multifamily property owners, for businesses and commercial entities, as well as for companies that have fleets. We'll offer rebates to support charging infrastructure for all of those entities. And we're also offering special electric rates to help incentivize time of use charging. And last but not least, the third pillar of our proposal is investments in community and transit charging. So how can we help school districts transition over to electric school buses? And how can we work with New Jersey Transit to support electrification of their hubs? And are there other things that are, investors and schools or other folks might be interested in exploring that we haven't thought of yet, but would really be innovative and forward thinking and helping to move the needle forward on clean energy economy? And so part of our proposal sets aside $2 million innovation fund where people could apply for grants in order to promote the electrification of fleets of buses or other things. So that's what our proposal is right now. It's pending. We are still at the initial stages, working with the state agency to get that approved. But we are looking forward to doing so. We're looking forward to being a good partner with the state and their goals for electrifying the transportation sector. And we're also looking forward to working with the communities in South Jersey in order to support their goals for emission reduction and electrification. So that brings me to the end. It is a comprehensive look at what connected communities means for the region, what it means for New Jersey, and also how public utilities like ACE envision our role for as partners working with the state and other stakeholders in order to achieve the clean energy goals that have been put forth by the administration. So I want to thank you, and with that, Dr. Lau, I'll turn it back to you for, I'll take questions if anyone has questions or how you want to proceed.
Okay, so thank you, Marisa. Means you can write your questions in the chat box, or if you want to ask, go ahead. So this is the time we have, around 10-15 minutes for questions. So there is a question to you, Marisa, means in the chat box I'm just reading. In your opinion, do you think the New Jersey Energy Master Plan is progressive enough, or do you think they are taking on too much work in a short amount of time?
Is it progressive enough, or are they taking on too much? I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So if you want to reach a 100% clean energy target by 2050, or 50% within the next 10 years, that those are pretty large goals. And so, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to get from where we are today, in order to be even at 50% within the next 10 years. So I do think that the goal itself is aggressive, and that the targets and strategies that get implemented need to be equally aggressive in order to reach them. There is there's no right answer, right? I think that the answer is that it's all of our responsibility in order to do better. in order to take care of our communities, in order to make sure that we're doing our part to improve the environment. And so from that perspective, I think that the Energy Master Plan has really been thoughtful in terms of, looking at a variety, a very broad scale options of what it might take in order to get us there. What is it going to take in order for the New Jersey of the future to be cleaner than it is today? And so, the Energy Master Plan tries to be very inclusive. And by that, I mean that it tries to look at the roles of stakeholders in the community, and not just the utilities, not just private investors, not just business owners, small or large, but it suggests that everyone has their own part to play, and that collectively, we will be able to achieve progress towards some of those goals.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions coming up at the chat box. So that means that your talk was very engaging. So, but I'll go on to the second one. What would you say about a state policy that says home customers with EVs should only pay 75% of the electric bill? So mixing and matching in a way, like on the utility side, like if you have an electric vehicle, you have to pay less in electric bills. Will that be okay with like a utility company as an incentive? Or that is a hypothetical one. One of the students proposed that.
Yeah. So should folks with electric vehicles pay less
for the electric bills, home electric bills?
Pay less on their. So I think that's an interesting question. There are ways, and one thing that my company has proposed in its electric vehicle filing is a time of use incentive, which means that they would incentivize electric vehicle owners to charge their vehicles during non-peak hours, and that they would see like a reduction in the amount that they would be charged if they're charging in off-peak hours. And that helps us to manage our system, because if people come home, everyone comes home at 5, 6 o'clock, and you're plugging your car, it's going to cause the system to spike. And so when systems spike, we have to then build out our infrastructure to manage to the spike. But if we're able to spread out charging such that the spikes are not occurring, or perhaps they're a little bit more flat, that helps us to manage load better and reduce the amount of infrastructure that we have to build, and thereby also reducing the rate impact. So I do think that there is some benefit to incentives around time of use charging for EV owners, especially when they're charging at home.
Yeah. Means another question came in, like, is 2% target reduction in electricity usage low, or do you think it is appropriate, like the 2% efficiency reduction target? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 2% is actually, 2% would put New Jersey within like the top 5% of states. So nationally, if you're looking at what other states are doing, 2% really are for folks who are at the top of the leaderboard in terms of their energy efficiency targets. And it's going to take us a few years to get there. So the legislation has set 2% target over 5 years. And so even with that, I think it is achievable, so long as we have the right portfolio of programs in place, and so long as people are aware, right? Because people need to be aware of what opportunities exist and take advantage of them. So I guess to answer the question, I think that 2% is a strong target and would put New Jersey among the leaders in that area.
Okay. Another is on the operational side, but one of the, my meter was changed in 2009 when I installed a 10 kilowatt solar system. Could this already be a smart meter in 2009?
No, so New Jersey doesn't, except for people who are in the service territory of Rockland Electric. New Jersey does not have any electric advanced or smart meters. So if you got a new meter installed in 2009, it may have been a revenue grade meter in order to track your solar generation and whether you're eligible for any solar renewable energy credits.
Thank you. Another one came in like, have you seen any hesitation in customers when transitioning to AMI, given that their information and energy usage is continuously sent to the utility? So something like some hesitation in the customers that their privacy is being compromised. I mean, do you see that as an issue or not?
Customer privacy is a top concern for us. And so, you know, today and into the future. And I think that customers should really take comfort in the fact that we're going to do everything that we can in order to protect their privacy, and including data usage. You know, I'm not surprised that, you know, hearing from customers or even receiving the question about customer privacy, because, you know, it comes up in so many different areas of our business. But I can assure you that we'll take all of the necessary precautions to protect customer privacy, also to protect customer data.
Okay. Another one is, what types of pushback do you anticipate for 2019 proposal from traditional energy industries or communities, or even other parties which typically won't expect to, means we expect to provide pushback but might? I mean, do you think any parties or others who can push back against the energy master plan, including yours?
So against the energy master plan, it technically, yes. I'd say it's too late to push back against the policy, right? The document itself it went through a year's worth of extensive stakeholder process, written and public comments. So the document itself is done. When you're thinking about implementation of those policies, that's where you're going to see the work. So for example, electric vehicles and the deployment of that. There are some folks who, you know, may push back on that. There are some groups out there who might say that the market should develop itself and that it does not need incentives from the utilities and from utility customers. And so there are people who take that kind of view. There are people who think that the state has enough solar and that it has, you know, and that offshore wind is different views around offshore wind. Not everyone is a believer. And so with any idea like this, which really is, these are ideas that are transforming markets, right? They are novel. They are things that do not exist today. And so you're, at least not in New Jersey, they certainly exist all across the country and even globally. But in New Jersey, as we are ramping up, there are all kinds of points of view that are coming to the fore. And I think it's healthy. I think it's a healthy dialogue, because you want to make sure that as you are rolling out these policies and developing programs, that you're taking various interests, you know, into account, because ultimately everyone is going to have access to them. Everyone will have the ability to participate, ideally. And so you want to make sure that, you know, it has as much input as it can have, and that is developed in a way that is as good as it can be, given that the current, you know, legal, economic, political landscape.
Yeah. Another one is more like, based on your knowledge and opinion, what are top 3 priorities we should do to use energy wisely? So top 3, like, if based on your experience or others, that users should be, like customers or others, to lower the energy use.
You know, there are some simple things, like if you're thinking about just you're a homeowner, or you have an apartment, whatever it might be. Light bulbs are very easy. So you can go around your house and change all your light bulbs to be, you know, LED efficient light bulbs. You can think about the appliances in your home. Are they energy efficient appliances? When you go into the store, there's usually like a yellow sticker on most appliances that tells you what the energy savings is, or if it's Energy Star rated. That's another thing that's easy. You can change some of the behavior that you have in your home about just turning off lights and closing windows or keeping the shades down. One of the programs that some of the utilities offers is a behavioral program. And so it allows you to look at your energy usage compared to homes of like similar size or type and see if you're high or if you're low. And then it'll include tips for you to reduce your energy savings. So I think that those are a couple of easy ways, just low-hanging fruit for people to save energy in their homes.
Thank you. Another one is from Mark. Mark, do you want to go or do you want me to read? So
yeah, I can go just quickly, I guess. Yeah. So we have an e-Golf, and it's really not eaten into our electricity bill very much. So when you mentioned that statistic for of at least a third increase in electricity consumption for residential users, you'd have to drive an awful long way to achieve that, I think. Our car does between 4 and 5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty good, admittedly. But I wonder if you have a source for that 1/3, because that might frighten people to read that their electricity bill is going to go up by 1/3. But I mean, for most people who are not doing 150 miles a day of driving, it's probably going to be quite a lot less than that.
Mm-hmm. I can provide that site to you, but yes, we do have a site for that.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome. I'll get that to you through Dr. Lau.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Marisa. There is another question, which again, it talks about that. Thank you so much. That was extremely informational and optimistic presentation for New Jersey. I was wondering, what are the other incentives on the basic level, such as LED light bulbs and generators like solar panels? How are these going to be affordable and ultimately own a smart family home with EVMs? So this is more towards like the incentives which the customers can have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would point you to a couple of sources. I would say you can visit the Office of Clean Energy. So I think it's the New Jersey Office of Clean Energy website. All of the programs that are available to customers offered through the state are listed right there on their website, including how you can apply. So if you want to Google New Jersey Clean Energy Program, New Jersey Office of Clean Energy, it should come up. Another thing you can do is go to the website of your own local public utility, whether it's PSE&G or, yeah, I think PSE&G might be the only one. PSE&G, Rockland Electric, and see what their offerings are. Atlantic City Electric has a few offerings. I think we will be having more in the next year or so once our full-scale proposal gets filed and approved by the board. All of the gas utilities in New Jersey also have energy efficiency programs. So if you go to your gas utilities website, then you'll be able to see a full portfolio of what's offered there.
Thank you. Yeah, another question which is like from me is like, what about the ratepayer cost, that economic cost to ratepayers when there are too many incentives coming out from the state? Means from the utility side, means what is the perception on that? Is the economic cost to ratepayers stacking up, and there might be a pushback?
That is something that we hear, especially from the ratepayer advocate in New Jersey. It's, what is the cost of all of these things? And, when you start stacking them one upon the other, it can be a bit concerning. And that's something that people are looking at. That's something that is included within the integrated energy plan, which is attached to the energy master plan. It's looking at the least cost path to achieve all of these goals. Every time a utility goes into the public utilities, the board, with a proposal, we will include our customer impact, and we'll also include a cost benefit analysis that will show that the benefits of whatever the proposal is outweigh the actual cost, including environmental benefits. So you're right, there is a cost to all of these things. And the goal is the ultimate goal is always to ensure that our programs and our rates are affordable, right? So we are not looking to stack on costs that make it too expensive for people to purchase electricity or to live comfortably. But it is to create greater access to energy resources, encourage people to reduce their energy consumption by doing different energy efficiency types of changes in their behavior. And also, you know, on our end, making sure that when we are putting forward proposals, that we're really sharpening our pencils, right? And not asking for more than what is truly necessary in order to deploy the infrastructure that's necessary to meet the state goal. It's a question that comes up a lot. It's a question that gets, you know, thoroughly discussed, I'd say, on all levels of state government.
Thank you. There's a question from Professor Taylor. It's a multiple part question, so you can read it there, but I'm reading it here. How will the collapse in the oil markets impact renewables, particularly electric vehicles? Is that currently being modeled? Do you think that this is only a temporary phenomenon? Related to this, how will the Great Recession impact utilities' long-term strategy? So you can break it up, but it's
interesting question. And, you know, I read an article earlier today on this very topic. And I think it was an article put out by Con Ed in New York. And, you know, I'd say that anytime that you see economic changes, whether it's global or local, right? Even with the pandemic, you know, there's much talk about, you know, recession. And so anytime you see that, it impacts industry on all levels. And the utility industry is no exception. But I think for us, we are prepared, right? And so our poles and our wires, they're already built. You know, we procure our supply years in advance to meet historical demands and averages. And so we are positioned and ready to continuously deliver our electricity despite what the market might do. You know, it changes how people pay their bills, right? So it might change, you know, the number of delinquent payments or those sorts of things. So it's a factor. You know, we are not, you know, saved from the impacts of economic turns. But, you know, I think it's something that we do our best to try to prepare for, and then, you know, do our best as well to just maintain stable operations through the duration.
Thank you. If somebody has a last question, we can go with that. Otherwise, like Mark, do you have something up your sleeve for the last one for Marisa? Generally, you have one.
Oh, I have several, but I don't want to keep everybody here. I wonder the issue about vehicle to grid. I'm not sure whether that's been solved at all. Maybe it doesn't need to be. But the other issue was if you have home residential battery backup, traditionally like a Tesla Powerwall, it didn't used to be able to flip on if the mains went out because you risked electrocuting a worker in the street who's working on the electrical system. Have they solved that problem yet? Do you know?
You need to have it's called islanding, right? So you need to have the technology attached so that your power can stay on when the lights go out. It's something that we saw when Superstorm Sandy hit years ago, where so many people had solar on their rooftops and they thought they were going to have power. But then when the power went out, they lost their solar because their system wasn't islanded. And so you need to make sure that you've got, and I'm not the tech person, but there's a gadget, right? you need to have the gadget attached such that your solar and your battery backup can work when the grid goes down. Okay, so there is a way of ensuring that separation, so it doesn't. There is. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Fantastic. I must say, I'm super encouraged by all this, particularly the EV side of it, because I'm very, very keen on this. I'd be really interested to see where that 1/3 increase is coming from. It must depend from household to household, depending on how much you're spending on electricity or your consumption, the size of your family, how much washing you're doing, all this these kinds of things. I just did a quick calculation. 150 miles would take you 30 kilowatt hours or something, and it's 13-14 cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, it's just a remarkably efficient kind of machine. I guess for some people it might be up to that level, but for a lot of other people who don't drive really long distances and whose EVs are quite efficient and small, it might be considerably less than that, you know.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, Mark, and thank you, Marisa. We went on with the question a little longer because it was very informative and very interesting presentation. And we hope to have you back. This was scheduled as a regular seminar, but we hope to have you back sometime soon when all things settle down, sometime in the fall. That's what we hope.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'd love to come back whenever you be willing to have me. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marisa.
All right.